I'm Tina Corby-Zarishin at the Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs, here with Senator Jim Inhofe, who just gave a very illuminating presentation to us about kind of the state of affairs at the national level. But I wanted to ask you a question about something that we're kind of hearing here in Oklahoma and wondering if you're experiencing anything similar in Washington. Some here have singled out tax credits for oil and natural gas companies for elimination, saying that a lot of these were put in place when horizontal drilling was a new technique and that there's really no need for them now. And so I just wondered what your response to that is.
Well, first of all, you're talking about areas where there has been and is risk involved. Now, the tax rate will fluctuate between 7% and 1%. However, this usually comes from liberal groups who are opposed to our domestic production to start with. A good example, we have a president of the United States. We could be totally independent of the Middle East and of Hugo Chavez and anybody else just by developing our own resources, and this could happen, but he is beholden to groups like MoveOn.org and George Soros and Michael Moore and the far left who want to kill fossil fuel. So if you look back behind those people who want to change this tax structure and call these the tax system a subsidy, they are wrong. Some things like manufacturers' exemptions, for example. Why would you single out the oil industry only because you were trying to do it because it's a fossil fuel industry? So I think the most that should happen would be to look at those things. You mentioned hydraulic, you mentioned horizontal drilling. There is a risk involved. There is a cost to that risk, and that has to be considered in the tax system. But other technologies come along that are also going to have risk to them, and I think that has to be considered. So it can be changed, but don't kid yourself. The ones who are wanting to do away with what they call subsidies just don't want the fossil fuel industry to thrive in America.
And also we heard in the presidential debate some confusion about whether production is up or down. Can you clarify that? I
can clarify that. Well, this has been a relentless attack on fossil fuels by President Obama, and he's doing this because of the liberal groups that have supported him. And so what he's tried to do is say, well, we're going to do away that we want this wonderful green energy. Well, maybe someday I'll probably be dead and gone by that time. Maybe technology will catch up. But you can't run this machine called America without coal, oil, gas, and nuclear. You got to have all four of them, and we're going to see to it that we do. So the motivation behind this thing is to try to make the people think, well, wait a minute, I'm not against natural gas, so I'll make public statements about natural gas. And so he does. He says, well, we need all this good, clean, affordable natural gas. But then in the next statement, he says, we've got to do something about hydraulic fracturing. Well, you can't get 1 cubic foot out of a tight formation without using hydraulic fracturing. And it's something where there's no risk. I mean, the first hydraulic fracturing was in Oklahoma in 1949. There's never been a documented case of groundwater contamination. But they're trying to kill coal, oil, and gas in America, and they're using this as an excuse. Now, the president keeps saying, well, no, production has increased during my administration. That's all in the private sector. In the public sector, it has diminished. It's decreased by 15%. In this boom time that we have with the oil sands and all the opportunities, he's actually reduced production on public lands. We need to take away that. There's not another country in the world that doesn't exploit their own resources.
And last question, switching gears to another of your priorities as a member of the Foreign Armed Services Committee. You talked a lot about how Obama has cut funding for defense and sequestration. How might those cuts specifically affect Oklahomans?
Well, no, they do affect, actually you have to look at the big picture. In doing away with the systems that he's eliminated, like the F-22, like the Future Combat System, and even now the F-35, which he's sliding to the right and getting the cost per copy so high, he may be able to do away with that if he were to be reelected, which I don't think he will be. So we have a serious problem in our defense system right now because we have a president. See, a true liberal doesn't think you need a military to start with. They think if all countries would stand in a circle and hold hands and unilaterally disarm, all threats would go away. So we have we have a deteriorating defense system that we hope to put to a screeching halt. Now, how would that affect Oklahoma? We have 5 major military installations in Oklahoma, and every one of them, in one way or another, is going to be effective. If you're talking about Vance, where they do primary training up there, he's trying to cut the size down so there would not be as much primary training taking place. Altus, the same thing with heavy equipment. Of course, we have the most versatile of all of our operations at Tinker Air Force Base, because they have all the partnerships going there. So if you deteriorate willfully our ability to defend America, we would take our percentage of the cuts. One of the examples is when they did away with the program out at Tinker that would have knocked out some 600 jobs. We have that on hold now, because we think we can stall him out until we get rid of him as president and get someone in there who really wants to defend America. We can stop it from happening. So there's a direct relationship between our 5 great military installations in Oklahoma and what they're doing in the big picture in destroying our ability to defend America.